Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a super heavy samurai deck profile. So I'm really excited with this one because I got to do an update of this one because of Sekka's Light being limited. So I'm really excited for this one because we have some really cool updates to this deck, and I'm really excited to bring this one to you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell next to become part of the notification squad. Definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out the Patreon and the Ko-Fi down in the description below. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. I'm actually going to break this deck down into 4 types. We're going to break down into normal super heavy samurai monsters, the tuners, the equipped monsters, and then the tech cards. So we're going to break this down into 4 different categories. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Big Benkei. Basically, this is the big boss monster of the main deck, that when it's normal or special summon, you can change it to defense position, and then it also has the ability that when it is in attacks, you apply the defense points. So basically, a lot of your Super Heavy Samurai monsters, if you guys don't know how this plays, is they go into defense position, and then you apply their defense as their attack. So when you attack with them, you have 3,500 attack, which is really big for this deck, and this card is really good. And some of them can't attack when they're in defense position, but Big Benkei makes it so they can all attack when they're in defense position. Then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Thief. Super Heavy Samurai Thief lets you, if you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, which a lot of them have that ability, because you don't play any spells or traps in this deck at all anymore. I don't even play Sekka's Light at 1 in this deck anymore. If you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then after this card was special summoned, you can either destroy a spell or trap on your opponent's side of the field and set it to your side of the field, or destroy one card in your opponent's pendulum zone and place that card in your pendulum zone. But you have to tribute this card to activate and resolve this effect. Not that big of a deal, but basically it's MST on legs. Then we play 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Scales. Super Heavy Samurai Scales is an interesting card in this deck that basically has the ability that you that if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then if this card is normal or special summon, you can target a level 4 or lower Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and then special summon it to your side of the field in defense position, which is really cool to help you with synchro summons and stuff like that, to be able to get it out on the field. 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Magnet. Your opponent can only target this card for attacks, and when it's normal summoned, you can special summon a level 4 lower Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand, which is really, really helpful and beneficial to the deck to be able to get them out onto the field as quickly as possible. 1 copy of Battle Brawler, or Blue Brawler. I really wanted to play Blue Brawler 1 because it can be destroyed by battle, and then when it's normal or special summon, you switch it to defense position. Really good effect to be able to switch it to defense position and can't be destroyed by battle, because sometimes your opponent can't get through a card that can't be destroyed by battle, which is really funny. And plus, it has 2k defense, so it's pretty big when it can attack, when it has another monster that gives it that ability. 2 copies of Flutist. Flutist is neat because it has the ability that you can tribute it to special summon 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand, and during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard to negate the activation if you destroy that card. This card comes in really handy. I was dueling somebody that was playing Blue Eyes against this deck when I was playtesting it. They targeted a monster on my side of the field, like I think it was Big Benkei, and I had this card in my graveyard because I had special summoned Big Benkei with this effect. And then they targeted it, and they didn't realize it with Alternative Dragon that it actually targeted it. And I just banished this and popped their card, which was really cool to be able to do, and they just didn't realize that it could work like that. Then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Helper for the last 2 Super Heavy Samurai regular monsters, I guess. This card's kind of a hand trap that during damage calculation, if one of your Super Heavy Samurai monsters battles a monster your opponent controls while you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can discard this card, then target another Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, and make the one that's battling gain the defense of the one that isn't battling. So like if I have 2 Big Benkeis on the field, I can, and one is attacking from defense position, I can make one of them go up to 7,000. The one that's battling go up to 7,000, which is pretty cool. But the really cool thing about this effect is that if it's in your graveyard, when your opponent declares a direct attack, you can banish it and then target a Super Heavy Samurai monster in your grave and special summon it. So like if you have Big Benkei in the graveyard, you can just banish this from the grave and then be able to special summon your Big Benkei from grave, which is really cool. So that's it for the Samurais. Let's get into the Tuner Samurais. So for the tuners, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeter. Trumpeter really is probably, it's the second best one in my opinion, because if you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can special summon it to your field, and then after it was special summoned this way, You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Super Heavy Samurai monsters. And if this card is tributed for the tribute summon of a Samurai, Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can treat it as 2 tributes, which is really, really cool. I really like that. I really like that ability to be able to just immediately special summon out your Trumpeter. Then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Battle Ball. Battle Ball is hands down, in my opinion, the best one in the entire deck, because what it does is it basically lets you target your opponent's monsters and use your opponent's monsters for your synchro summons, which is really, really, really cool. So we actually play kaijus in here as well. We play a couple of kaijus in the deck, which lets us immediately synchro summon. Like, you tribute one of your opponent's monsters, summon Battle Ball, target the kaiju, and then if you have the level 12 one, you can immediately go into Steam Train King. If you have the level 8 ones, you can go into Susanoo, which is pretty cool as well. This card is really good, and you want to get to this card as quickly as possible. 1 copy of for the last tuner, I just play a single copy of Drum. Drum is neat, and I like it as a one-of. I probably wouldn't play it at any more than 1, because if it's on the field, it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target a Super Heavy Samurai monster in your grave and just immediately put it back on the field, which is really cool because you can target one of your synchros that have been appropriately synchro summoned, or your Big K, something like that, and put it back on the field, which is really cool. So that's it for the tuners. Let's get into the equip samurais. So for the equip ones, we're playing 3 copies of Soul Piercer. Soul Piercer, basically all of the equip ones have this ability. You can target a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control and equip it with this card from your hand or your side of the field to that monster, and then they get an ability. If it attacks a defense position monster, you can inflict piercing damage, and then if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, which is really good to be able to search them. 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Horns. Soul Horns is really good because it lets your Super Heavy Samurai monster battle an additional time. It lets you make a second attack, which is really good to be able to OTK your opponent. 3 copies of Soul Peacemaker. Soul Peacemaker is so good in this deck. Soul Peacemaker lets you target a Super Heavy Samurai and equip with this monster to this card. You equip this card to a Super Heavy Samurai, and then you can tribute a monster you control that's equipped with this card, and then special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck, which is the reason we only play the 2 Big Ks, is because you can just immediately special summon the Big K from deck. Then I play 2 copies of Soulbuster Gauntlet. Soulbuster Gauntlet lets us double the attack of a Super Heavy Samurai monster by discarding it to the graveyard. You usually don't equip it to a Super Heavy Samurai monster, but it's there if you want to. I usually don't because it just boosts them up by 400. I usually discard it and then immediately double the defense of like Steam Train King or a copy of Big K or something like that. Like, you can double the attack of, or double the defense of Steam Train King, then it goes to 9,600, which is bonkers big. So that's it for the equipped Super Heavy Samurais. Let's get into the tech monsters. So for the tech monsters that we're playing in here, we're playing 3 copies of Jaculucin, the Star Destroying Kaiju. The 3 copies of Jaculucin really helps out because, Jizakuro is really cool because when you can tribute a monster your opponent controls and then special summon it to your opponent's side of the field. We play 1 copy of Dolgaran and 1 copy of Gameciel because basically what you do with these, if you guys don't know, basically what I explained earlier is you put the Battle Ball on field and then you have one of these on the field, and if you go in for either this or these, you summon Steam Train King off of these, or you summon Susanoo off of these 2, essentially. That's the big plays that you're going to be doing the majority of the time in the deck anyways. So that's pretty much the big combo with the Kaijus. Plus it gets rid of cards on your opponent's side of the field, which really helps out. Then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well to round out the entire deck. The Ash Blossoms really help out because you just don't want to deal with your opponent's stuff. You can change these out if you want to change them out for any other hand trap, or you can play 8 Kaijus if you want to. It's totally up to you guys what you play in this position. I like the Ash Blossoms because they really, really help me out because I just don't want to deal with my opponent's shenanigans. But you can trade them out if you want to trade them out for Droll and Lockbirds or something like that. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. And I will mention, you guys, this entire deck is extremely budget. You can probably get the entire main deck besides the Ash Blossoms for like $10. Like, it is that cheap of a deck. I think the most expensive card in here is maybe the Jizukuros and stuff like that. They might be like $2 or $3, like maybe. So then for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. Keep in mind, it does have 4,800 defense points, so this card is humongous. Yes, it does say it takes a Super Heavy Samurai tuner and two non-tuner Super Heavy Samurais, but Battle Ball does cheat it out, so that's why you get it on the field. You can attack while it's in defense position, and if you do, apply the defense points. And then once per turn, you can discard 2 cards, and then target that many cards your opponent controls and destroy them. And then once per turn, you can banish all spell and trap cards in both players' graveyards. And if you do, you inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each banished card, which is pretty cool. That it just banishes all the spells and traps, which is neat. 2 copies of Warlord Susanoo. This card is the one that you usually summon the most in this deck. That it has the ability that once per turn during either player's turn, if you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can target spell or trap your opponent's graveyard and set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is pretty cool. That you can just rip your opponent off and take them. 1 copy of Beast QB. QB is good too because it can get really big. It gains 900 attack for each special summon monster your opponent controls, or 900 defense for each special summon monster your opponent controls, which if they just control 1, it goes to 34. If they control 2, it goes to 42, or 43, and so on. I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. 1 copy of Ninja Sarutobi. You don't summon Sarutobi all that much, but it's kind of here if you need it. This one's the one that I summon the least. It lets you target spell trapper on the field and destroy it. If you do, you inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. Not that big. Stealth Ninja, I summon sometimes. It lets me once per turn. It lets me attack. This card can attack your opponent directly this turn if, let's see. If this card is faced in defense position, you apply the damage calculation, and then you can half this card's original defense and attack your opponent directly, which inflicts 1,600 points of damage. And then once per turn during your next hand phase, if this card is destroyed on the field instead of the graveyard, you just instantly special summon it back, which is neat. 2 copies of the Super Heavy Samurai Ogre Shirandoji. Shirandoji is really neat because it basically is Harvey's Feather Duster, which is really cool when it's summoned, and it's 2,500 defense. Boral Sword to help OTK. Unicorn to help help us with additional bouncing. 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant because it boosts attack and defense of Earth monsters by 500, which can kind of help out. You can change these out for a Phoenix if you want to. Exciton Knight to blow board just in case you need to, and Baguska just in case you want to switch everything to defense position because we're already doing that. So it really hurts our opponent and not us. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's super fun to play around with. The deck is really good. I really think that Super Heavy Samurais are just really a fun deck to play around with, and I highly recommend that you guys give it a try. It's super budget because everything's been reprinted in this deck, or it's common, so definitely give it a try. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. Don't forget to check out the Patreon for the really cool rewards that we have down in the description, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you, guys. DarkArmedDuelist out.